Hi everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Sorry I didn't have time to put out a video last week. The end of May, beginning of June is always really busy. It's a really popular time for weddings. People always seem to approach me for weddings at this time of year. So the last few weeks have been dominated by those, and we've done some absolutely lovely installs and been part of some lovely weddings. So that's been keeping us really busy. And the plug plants are still going out, so that's been busy as well. But a few of you have requested to look around the field, so I thought I would show you around this afternoon. We're sort of coming out of the end of the polytunnel growing season now for us here. I've got sweet peas, but everything else got harvested for the weddings in the last couple of weeks. So for the rest of the season, all of our cut flowers will be grown outside in the field. Certainly here, and I think pretty much throughout the UK, this spring has been really hot and really dry. And because I've been really busy, I will be honest, and I haven't had time to cut the grass and or weeds around the flower bed. I've trimmed it back today, especially for you guys, so you can actually see the flowers. I actually think it's done the world of good for the flowers in the field. So I've just trimmed away around the edges of the flower beds this morning. And I know we've had a bit of rain today, and we did have a bit of rain last night, which was lovely. But the plants, considering I haven't watered them, have survived really well. And I'm sort of putting that down to the fact that the wind, as you can see, belts down this field off the top of the hill there. And wind really dries out the soil. So added to that, we've had a dry spring. But because I let the grass, I mean, it was up here, get quite long, it stopped the top surface of the soil drying off quite as much. And I'm actually really happy with how things have survived and kind of thrived really in that hard environment of severe neglect on my part, I'm afraid to say. So this just goes to show, for those of you that think, oh, I'm the only gardener where life takes over and weeds take over, and then weeds take over. I was just really busy, and I didn't have time to prioritise cutting the grass and weeding and things like that. But it seems to have been okay. So I'll take you around and show you some of the bits and bobs that are going on now. So I'm going to start with something that I planted in this field when I first moved here, which was September 2020. And it is looking absolutely gorgeous at the minute. So I'll show you that first off, and then we'll have a look around at some of the beds that have been planted in this field since April. So this is what I wanted to show you, because it looks absolutely beautiful at the minute. So this is my Physocarpus hedge. So this variety that you're looking at here is Lady in Red. And the top half of the shrubs are absolutely covered in flowers at the minute. So you can see up here, these flowers, these stems here have got loads of flowers on. And at the bottom, it hasn't got flowers on. That's because last year I cut from these stems. So this is fresh growth that won't produce flowers. And I deliberately left these top stems last year, and I didn't prune from those so that I would get the flowers this spring. And then this spring I've been cutting the stems at the top with the flowers on, so then next year they'll be like this and won't flower, but these ones will flower. Look at the difference in size of leaf and flower on that. This one's called Little Joker. I tend to use this one for more bouquet work, because as you can see, it's just a little bit more delicate than the Diablador or Lady in Red. But all of them, as you can see, well, in my personal opinion, I should say, all of these shrubs look absolutely gorgeous at the minute. Now we'll go and look at the roses. This bed here shouldn't need much explaining. This is, well, these are the rose beds. Absolutely covered in roses. Looks like it's going to be a good year for roses. And I'm going to start on this bed because it was the first bed that I planted in the field in March. So for the last few weeks we've been cutting foxgloves from here, and we've been cutting corn cockle from here, and Orleia from here, and lupins, which you can just maybe see in the background there, and the tanacetum is yet to flower. But aside from that, most things in this bed now have flowered. So just coming to an end now is the Aquilegia. So this one is McKenna's Giant. I know it's not a giant at the minute, but that's because it's only been planted a few months, and next year it will be a giant and it will be up a height. And then we've got the lovely corn cockles there, just swaying in the wind, and the tanacetum, which is here and just in bud, dancing its way through that GM Totally Tangerine. More of that lovely corn cockle. And then one remaining lupin wasn't obviously cut for the wedding, didn't make the grade. So this bed here is all whites and peaches. So I'm really happy that these calendula have decided to make this their home. Everyone has them. I've got some weeds growing there, and I'm going to thin this bed through, take out the weeds, and any gaps that I find, like down there, I'm going to start putting some cosmos in for late season. So that there is Sutton's apricot foxglove, which I think looks lovely as a combination there with the corn cockle and the totally tangerine GM, which is just coming to an end. So that's the bed we were just looking at there. So in here at the minute we've got planted Nigella, Mrs. Jekyll's light blue. We've got lots of Amimagus, which you can see up here, and we've got Achillea, summer pastels, black cornflower and grey poppies, and Cafe Creme Digitalis. And surrounding this bed here we've got a U-shaped ring, which I really wanted to be really tactile because I wanted to be able to walk around and run my fingers through it. So in this bed here, in this U-shaped bed, which flanks the sort of Mucky pastels bed, we've got canary grass and Saponara white and Ami visnaga. So the Saponara and the canary grass are sort of coming into flower now, and then later in the year the Ami visnaga will take over, so there'll be something running around the edge of this bed to sort of as a backdrop to this bed, if you like. So if you can see in this breeze here, that's the canary grass, so that's a hardy annual, and we've got that tufting out the ground mixed with our white Saponara, which is just currently in bud now, and it runs right round the top of this bed. So this Mucky Pastels bed I planted at the back end of April. So this is our Amimagus here. So I've sort of planted in swathes, you can see there, and then we've got our Achillea, summer pastels, and then our foxglove Cafe Creme. Next to our black ball cornflower, and then our grey poppies. So grey poppies in the tunnel are just coming to an end, and then they should take over in the field. We've got a Deutzia in there, and then, so you might find this interesting, this is Nigella. Obviously it's flowering quite short because I've not been watering, but thankfully I don't need it for anything at all, so that doesn't bother me too much. And you will notice it's got weeds in there, and I'm deliberately leaving the weeds in because Nigella is a plant that absolutely hates root disturbance. So if I got my hand in here and pulled out this weed, I would be instantly upsetting this Nigella, because so there's a great excuse for you not to weed part of one of your flower beds. Next up we've got this bed, which I call Tiny Bed. This bed is 2 meters by 2 meters, and it's a mixture of perennials and annuals. So there is a very young 1-year-old Mrs. Bradshaw GM, as do these, which are our Noitias, and they've been in since spring. And then we've got larkspur in the middle there. And then round the outside of this bed we've got lots of Madam Butterfly pink snapdragons. They're the ones that I nipped in the previous video, so you can see they're coming away nicely. And behind me here, we've got our warm pastel bed. So just like the Mucky pastels bed, I've edged this bed with Saponara, and I've used the pink Saponara to edge this bed because it's a plant that I like the sensation of running my fingers through. So that goes right along the edge of this bed here. And then in the bed itself, got a load of very happy poppy buds there, and eventually they will open to poppies like this. So this poppy here is called Falling in Love, and it's varying shades from white into pink. Down here we've got our Godetia, so that's been nipped and you can see that's coming away there. And this is our Cineglossum Mystery Rose. Lots more poppies. Cornflower there just coming into bud. And we've got a few more foxgloves in this bed as well, just hanging on in there. Loads more poppies. There's some of the cornflower just coming out. So that variety there is Classic Romantic. So we've got Falling in Love and Classic Romantic. I must have been having a romantic moment when I thought about planting this bed. So just there with those large leaves, you can see we've got hollyhocks right in the middle of the bed because they're obviously going to flower quite tall. And yet again, more Salsa Uncle Angela and some foxgloves with a ladybird on it. Also, we've got larkspur coming up there, so that'll be pink. Down here at the bottom end of the field, we have got the blue bed. Well, blues and whites, to be honest. So we've got classic fantastic cornflowers just coming out there, and snowman, Nepeta, Six Hills Giants there, and just coming to an end, white Hesperus. Here is not actually a weed as much as it looks like one. This is Eryngium, so sea thistle. This is Alpinia. I had some white honesty in here and that's flowered and it's now setting its seed pods. That plant there is Amivisnaga. So the nice thing about cornflower classic fantastic mix is you get lots of different shades of blue. So I like that one there, which is a nice soft blue colour with a darker centre. So that there is the blue and white bed. So this is our youngest planted bed in the field. It was only planted a couple of weeks ago. We've started planting our dahlias into this bed, as you can see, and this is our jewel toned bed. So we've got scabious dark purple, we've got cornflower black ball, we've got cosmos rubens there, Helichratium salmon rose there, and then in this corner here we have got Antirrhinum cherry, and then we're just starting now to plant our zinnias in. So we've got zinnia giant wine and zinnia giant salmon in this bed. So I've just got a few more plants that I want to add to this bed. Because I'm trying to make all the beds quite interesting and various textures running through them. So I want discs, I want spike flowers, I want grasses, I want things that I can run my fingers through. I want focal flowers in each bed. So into this bed I'm now going to add some amaranthus, which is going to bring an extra dynamic to the bed. So amaranthus is half hardy, it's an annual, and it gets fairly tall, so it needs to sort of go towards the centre of the bed so that it doesn't block any of these smaller flowers around the outside. And it has lovely tassels that come through it. So for all it's not a flower per se in the typical sense, it really brings something when you're trying to create quite dramatic florals. So I'm going to get these amaranthus into the centre here around this dahlia, because I think they'll look lovely. And they're also going to be next to some Dorcas Dara. So it's that whole colour scheme that I was talking about of these sort of rich dark tones, which hopefully is going to look really pretty at the back end of summer. And the other plant that I want to add to this area is a grass. This is Sitara Red Jewel. So again, a nice burgundy rich annual grass. which grows quite tall, and Satara is a very linear grass, so it doesn't actually bulk out, it will just grow straight up, so I'm not too worried about it encroaching on the space of other plants. So all I've got to do now is keep my fingers crossed that my thrips disappear off my roses, and I will see you next week, because next week there will definitely be a video as we're going to start sowing our biennials. Yeah, I'm serious, we're going to start sowing seeds ready for flowers for 2026. So if you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for some biennial sowing. Bye!